Welcome to the Struggle Bubble. I'm Chad Cunningham.
And I'm Craig Sergi.
And immediately before we came on air, Craig was bragging at how big and buff he's going to get once he starts lifting weights. Craig, when's the last time you lifted weights?
1998. I don't know.
That's not true. That's not true. I did during our conversations, we talked about the training regimen for soccer players being just fundamentally different. I think when we spoke with Di on the phone a few days ago, he was saying, yeah, less about all the weights and more just on-field training.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I would argue a small amount, right? There is definitely upper body strength needed, core stability. But a lot of them, as you know, I preach kind of the dancing kids doing the body breakers. Years ago, Leeds United had a coach, David O'Leary, that introduced yoga to their training schedule. So flexibility, those kind of basics needed. And then construction, right? You got to build the ligaments, tendons, et cetera, to keep healthy, really. I mean, it's a lot of strain on the joints and ligaments and just the way that we strike the ball, those kind of things. But then upper body is more weightlifting.
If you had to go on the pitch today, what level do you think you could compete at and not hurt yourself?
Oh, men's 45 and over league.
You think?
Even that might be a stretch.
I was going to say, that might be a stretch.
We may go back to U8 girls.
I was in the backyard and Lex is dribbling between my legs, and it hurt just thinking about getting low enough to take the ball or dribble it upfield. Yeah, I don't think I would manage it. Everything's going to take me some
time to get back into shape. I mean, when I play with the high school kids, it's just like, nah, you guys faster. You got it.
Well, I think a live Struggle Bubble episode of us playing any of these sports that we're talking about on a weekly basis.
Well, as we know, last week we played golf on the Friday, and
no, we didn't.
Yeah,
no, we didn't. Not on a Friday. We didn't.
No, sorry, it's Saturday.
Yeah,
we played on a Saturday. After 9 holes, it all went to shit. So we're still good at the first.
Hold on. Let's
section.
Put all of that into context. I haven't played golf in, I don't know, since September. So every time I go, it's you hear me say the same things every time we go golfing. Hey, I watched this YouTube clip. Hey, I've got it figured out. And I still have a baseball swing slice into the woods, which the algorithm is so great. All I had to do is verbally say how bad I was slicing that day. And I've been fed nothing but advertisements on Instagram and social media about fixing that.
Well, the good thing was when you processed the slice, you went straight. So I would just keep in your own head.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's what I do. I'm going to hit a slice. Let me hit it all the way to the left. And then I'm just a terrible golfer. But it was great. Now, but just talk about monetizing and over monetizing. We've talked about this in youth sport. It feels like the golf course at Santa Teresa was over monetizing a little bit, where a tee time at 3:00 turned into a tee time at 3:50, and then every hole we're waiting 10 to 15 minutes. So maybe we don't have the cattle call where you tee off at 3:45, and then the last 2 holes you're praying that you have night vision goggles to see the ball land somewhere in the rough.
And it was stupid as well, because that tee slot at 3, they classify that as dusk, right? Or, whatever
it was definitely dusk at the 16th hole.
Well, but the funny thing was, in theory, you do it in 4 hours, you'd be safe. Well, now I know why they start 3:00 as the late slot.
Well, there was nothing better than all of us in our group coming up and as an 8-some on some of those holes just to try and get it in.
Dude.
I believe someone described it as hungry hippos. It's just golf balls in every different direction.
Unbelievable putting. Unbelievable. The hungry hippo shot was unbelievable.
Game of golf. Isn't it great?
That's what
I had one birdie and I felt like I was on top of the world. I'll go back and play again in a year.
Yeah, we're fine. We're having fun. Everyone's having fun, Chad. Everyone's having fun.
Vitamin D. And I'm glad you were able to get out that day, because you have been under the weather like crazy. You sounded like a demon the last couple of days that I've talked to you. Feeling better?
Feeling better. The voice is coming back. Still got a little cough. Still got a little frog in the throat, but here we are. They'll survive.
Which kid are we going to blame for your illness?
Actually, nobody else to sit. So, funny enough, I have no idea where this came from. Nobody else has caught it.
Then we're going to blame it
So,
on business travel.
yeah, I mean, just blame it on the dog. It's fine.
What are you doing with it? I don't want to ask. All right. That's not what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're going to talk a bit. My phone has been blowing up, as probably your phone blowing up as well, as we end the soccer season and start looking towards next soccer season. We've talked about on this show the alphabet soup so many times of ECNL and ECNLRL and these other leagues that are being named. Why is there such attention paid to something like ECNL? And it's either like the families are so worked up about it that they have to go to a club that has ECNL because that is the future, it's the end all be all for their girls. And then another half of the soccer community that has absolutely no idea what that means. And another portion of it of be careful what you wish for because of the travel and intensity involved with all of this. So what are you seeing and hearing on this ECNL track on in the Bay Area?
I mean, exactly what you just said. First of all, let's go to age groups, right? 15 years ago, ECNL was 11v11 only, right? But the thought process of parents years ago was, if I'm part of a club that is an ECNL club, my kid has a chance of making that ECNL platform. Because the origins is ECNL came around, and it's basically for high level collegiate level teams, right? And if you were in that 11v11 team, top team, so let's say, and I'm going back years now, you used to have a league called CYSA. If you were one of the top 11v11 teams there, and then NorCal came out, you're top 11v11 teams there, then you guys went to showcases, right? You went to tournaments like everybody else, and collegiate coaches would come and watch you play. So as ECNL started to bring out their own league, because ECNL started, again, I think my facts are right, they started as a tournament, and they
Like a
basically
showcase style.
showcase, exactly, right? Um, they brought their own league out, but they just went and got those 11v11. So you went and applied for the league. In our area, it was MVLA and Deanda Force. And those top teams would then go into that league. So the thought process from the parents was, well, if I can get in at 8 years old and stay in that club through 7v7, 9v9, and then to 11v11, then my kid has a chance of getting in this platform, etc. Now, the misconception there is reality is when you get to 11v11, it's open tryouts. And this is where ECNL kind of made sense of, if I only have two teams in our area, MVLA, so that's kind of, let's just say the 280 cutoff, right? Mountain View, Los Altos, Palo Alto, that kind of area. And then going down, you had Deanza Force, which would take the Santa Clara, San Jose, Scotts Valley, Santa Cruz, whatever that area. Well, all those clubs in the local community would then, in theory, their top players would go to MVLA or Deanza, try out 11v11, and then make that team, and that would come on with the league. So the misconception there is, if I'm part of the club from a junior or formation age group, then I've got a chance of making it. And reality is that's not how it was truly built in the first place. It was built for 11v11 intersection, that the local team, local players that accelerate, want to stay in the sport, or that things, then move. So that's the first issue, right? The misconception of what it is. Then as things have developed through the years, there's other leagues come around, right? Like GA. So GA and ECNL, in theory, clash or compete. And so Deanza has ECNL, MVLA has ECNL, Los Gatos and Almaden has GA. So now the same platform for 11v11, for college showcase level, there's now two competitive leagues. But now the club format has changed. Obviously, you've added two additional clubs at GA, and you already have two additional ECNL. So now you have a battle for basically talent in a 30 by 30 mile radius.
But 11v11 starts at age 12, 12, 13?
Correct. Yeah. U12. Yeah.
And we've just talked to all of these, experts and people in the business and what we're seeing more and more, that at that age, you're not getting recruited. So is your point of, like, as you turn You get in that club as a 13-year-old, and then nobody's recruiting somebody that's 13
Well,
unless you're like the next Messi, but it's
but
not
again,
happening.
apples and oranges, right? Classify recruit. What do you mean by that? Do you mean collegiate? Do you mean US national? Do you mean to another
Well,
team? Do you mean,
collegiate.
yeah.
Just
So
start with
collegiate,
collegiate.
so collegiate, you're right, right? You can't be signed to a college until junior year. Changing, right? NWSL now is signing kids, right? So they're skipping college and going straight to pro. Same with MLS Next. I mean, I'm just talking ECNL, which originally was girls. There's MLS Next now and ECNL boys and all these other, again, alphabet soup. But it goes back to, and you've heard me say it thousands of times, if you're still in the sport when you get to 11v11 and you've had a great relationship with your coach and your team and all those things leading up to that point, then you should go on, if you're at that level, and go and try out, right? And I say that from 8 years old. Even when I coached, right, the girls in the club, go try out other clubs, right? I may be right for you today, but I may not be right for you in a year's time or whatever it is. But also get some opinions, right? You're only getting my evaluation. So go get some opinions from other. And if they say, hey, we want to offer you a place on team one, and you go, thank you so much. Craig's my coach and I'm on team one at LG. I'm going to stay with him. Most coaches that I work with in that age group will respectfully say, great, I know Craig, we've worked together for years. Stay on with the program. Come out if you want to come out, whatever. And I'm open to that as well, right? So there's this whole process of, people are scared of losing their spot. And that changes things, right? So that starts to make me think, if I'm going to lose my spot, I should go and try out with one of these elite, air quotation, elite clubs, right? ECNL or GA or whatever you classify the elite club as, to see if I can make that level. So you're forced into a tryout, which isn't always positive. And then here's the real kind of breaking point for me. If I don't make team one, am I not good enough anymore? I need to go and find a club that's going to give me team one or gold or whatever the verbiage is. It's not true, right? And I talk about this in the high school all the time. Some of the players that run JV that are on their ECNL program at one of these clubs can't break into the varsity team because the person in front of you is going to Santa Clara or Stanford or Berkeley or wherever. Like, you're competing against a 0.1% player. It doesn't make you any worse.
Yep.
But that's the reality of it, right? And so I think at 8, 9, 10, 11, people are getting really concerned and confused about being in the right environment to grow as a player, irrelevant of team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, versus being part of a club logo and badge that thinks that's their right trajectory for their kid, right? And they really do miss the initial skip of go try out at every single club that you want to. Doesn't matter if your friend's there or not. Like, just go and get somebody else's opinion. Now, I don't want to get into the politics of the club side of it as much, but there's a section there where finance does come into it and retention rate does come into it, right? Where a club may be building a new team and needs X amount of players. And so when 15 players come out and they have 15 spots because they need to build a new team, everybody gets offered. Now, that to me is an imbalance, obviously, right? Because who are you competing against? No one, right? You're all going to make it. Second to that is, how's that a fair evaluation? Because you're going to give everybody top marks to get them into the club. Now, again, if you're a new club and you're starting out and you have coaches that have been in the game for a long time and got credibility, etc., it's a little different, right? And a lot of clubs have. But you're trying to guess bet the best ratio for your kid to make that top team, to be on team one, team gold, whatever. So there's a variable there that you got to be very, very careful of. And I always go back to, do you like the coach? Do they make you feel positive? Do you feel comfortable in your environment? Do you like your team? If that is all green lit, then it makes sense for you to be part of that program. It was
Do
very
all of the
long-winded.
Do all of the clubs in the area aspire to be the ECNL club? Because this is where you've described the pyramid and the foundation from US soccer all the way down to, right, the AYSO recreational leagues that we're setting up. And where I get lost a bit is the motivations on each one of those jumps. At the US national level, the goal is to create enough love for soccer that there's enough kids to create enough skills, to create enough competition to develop these players. Now, and on the national stage, on the men's side, it's been comical for a long time, right? It hasn't been super competitive. On the women's side, a ton of success,
Well, not
but
the last
that's
10 years.
relative to the men's side.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's their motivation at the top. And there is some symmetry between what the younger generation needs and what the top US national needs, because you need a love for soccer and a movement to make sure that when it comes time, Johnny's picking soccer and not just playing little league baseball or basketball or whatever that you can. The same way with little Jane, she should be playing, soccer instead of softball in that, that big pool. And in Europe, it's different, right? You grow up with a, football on your toes. But at the club level, then if the goal is to create to the top of the pyramid for talent, and there's always going to be a top 1%, whether that's my daughter, your daughter, or somebody else's daughter, somebody's going to get to the top of the pyramid. The individual club wanting to be an ECNL program when there are other programs that already exist, that doesn't seem like that's optimizing for the athlete. It's optimizing for the club to put the shield on their website to get more kids to come. And let me go just one step further. If you're a local club at that bottom of the pyramid where you have rec programs or from U6 all the way up to U18, you have the the community aspect of, you don't have to travel. We'll talk about travel baseball in a second. We're in Los Gatos, so we can play in Los Gatos. As you have the push to be ECNL or super competitive, and you're now, I'll use recruiting, maybe the wrong word, you're bringing kids in from surrounding areas up to 40, 50 miles away, and then you're pushing out the nucleus of the community. So it feels like, I don't know if I have a question in here, but that the incentives on every level seem to be so messed up that you want to have the top talent and hold on to the top talent. And then there's not enough of a pipeline going in every other direction to support. And then you have people quit. They're either burnt out at the top level, or they're like, oh, I'm on I'm 3. I've been told I'm not very good, and I'm not getting the coaching because we have these ABC licenses for whatever the hell that means. That the coaches are then at that top level.
Yeah. I
So let me
mean,
let me wind back and ask a specific question just on that, because I was very long winded and a little bit of venting. The club motivation, you said follow the coach that you love. As a parent, we don't have networks of soccer coaches that we know. So you have to trust in the local organizations and the licensing and that. How do you establish what that good coach is and how to look for it when you're entering into a new club at the younger age?
yeah, good question. I would say there's a few things, right? um, and not to get too specific, because you wouldn't get this specific in a tryout and the time frame you could follow up. But first of all, like construction, right? How's the session, right? Is it herding cats and the guy or the coach is just struggling to control the group? Right, that's a pretty basic one. Communication style, right? Is it hollowing, shouting, screaming? Is it shot blasts on the whistle? Is it how does that look? um if there is kids goofing around, do they address that? How do they address that? Right? Is it old school? And you've heard me say this thousands of times. I hate when coaches make players run around the field for bad behavior or whatever. Because I'm like, well, is it a track meet? Like, we're here for football. Like, go get that kid. I'll give you an example. Go get the kid, give them a soccer ball, tell them to juggle 10 times so their concentration level comes back down and then they can re-enter the group, right? So just look for those kind of versions. And then again, my biggest thing is communication to the player, right? It's of, how are you speaking to the kids? Are you, basic stuff again, right? Are you at their eye level? Are you showing them respect? Are they showing you respect? And they're the minimum requirements for me. The actual session, it is what it is, right? As I always say, the game's the game, right? I can set a session up that I think is going to be fantastic, and then it fails because the kids can't do it or it breaks down. It is what it is, right? How do I evolve as a coach and change that to keep everybody engaged? And then the biggest thing is, right, the couple of major things for me, how do we celebrate when we're winning, right? So if somebody scores, do we encourage all the kids to go celebrate? Like, yeah, the game's about scoring, right? So if we win or if we score, we want everyone to celebrate. And on the flip, right, if we lose, do we point fingers or do we quickly turn around and say, hey, we're playing 7v7. Somebody may have made a mistake, but there's 7 people on the field. There's 6 other people that could have helped. So how do we deal with those scenarios? And then finally, my biggest thing is, as a coach, it's kind of like interviewing, right? I'm looking at parents all at the same time. Like, how are they? Because the kids are going to bark if the parents bark, right? They're going to follow that approach to scenarios. So I sensitively watch that at the same time of, is the parents just walking around the field drinking coffee on phone calls and just letting us coach? Great. Like, then I also look for the parents that are asking all the questions. And sometimes, I'm happy to answer anything, right? But if they're asking soccer specific, I try and pause them and ask the kid to ask the question. Because it may be important to the parent, but again, you've heard me say 1,000 times, you're not on the field doing it, right? So I want the kids to come to me, hey, I missed that, I miscontrolled it, can you help me, blah, 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 right? I don't need the parents saying, hey, my kid screwed up, what do I need to do? No, dude, just drop off, pick up, and then we're done. I don't need someone overanalyzing.
Parents shouldn't be watching practices, period. At this,
No.
at the little kid level, if the coach asks you to stick around because there's I need a bathroom break, all the little things. But at the older ages, it's tough.
Drop off, pick up. Yeah.
What's the flip side of that though, Craig? As a coach, you've been around, doing this 20+ years. What do you look for in a program? Because if there is a shortage of great coaches, and I'm sure there's some type of, path to, you want to be a professional coach. Does that mean you want to coach the top, U18 at MLS Next or ECNL, and you want to club hop to get there, or you want to plant roots and make this a career and get paid enough? What evaluation do you use as a coach to make sure the program's the right fit?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, right, I think there's 2 sides of a club, right? There is board managed clubs, right? And then there's coach managed clubs. So that'd be your first kind of, question. How much influence does the coaching staff have on the board, and vice versa, right? That's my first kind of, what am I getting myself into? Then from a coach's standpoint, you're right. Am I trying to go be an MLS Next coach? Whatever, right? So there's a stacking system, right? You got to get your licenses and do all that. And does the club have the opportunity? So to do an A license, there's 2 A licenses, the youth license and the pro license. Does it have a 18 plus program, like a USL team or something like that I can go and do my sessions there and get to my badges? Does it have does it have an elite program that I can do my A license with to get me to there as well? Right. So, and if it doesn't, that's fine. Let me do, my DCB, and then I'm going to have to move clubs to do my A, or partner. A lot of times you can go and work with a team just to get your licenses in the town over or wherever. So that's the initial part. Then I look at the directors because they're the ones that's going to be feeding me, as in session plans, what we're doing, scheduling, how's that structure and organization built? Do you even have a soccer matrix, right? Do you have session plans? Do you have a methodology of what we're doing? Can I go and watch one of the teams and quickly realize that you are a possession-based team and our sessions are going to be around control, movement, passing, and all those things because that's the way you've built your club? Or is it different? Is it individual technique kind of, what is it?
Is that not, I want to say mandated, but shouldn't there be general guidance at the national level of what successes look like and then have that trickle down to all the member clubs?
Rough is pencil because the game changes as well, right? So my generation, it was generally a 4-4-2. So you had left and right backs that would overlap, or then it went to 4-3-3 and you'd have a big centre forward. Then kind of when Spain won the World Cup, it moved to more of a passing possession game based. Then Messi, Ronaldo, etc. came on, and now you have intentional attacking players. So it's a loose pencil marking because the game changes as well. So there's that variation in it. But in theory,
But I
yes.
guess my point more would be if I'm an 8-year-old in California and an 8-year-old in Ohio and an 8-year-old in Florida, that should be consistent
It should.
at the age level,
Yeah,
right?
it should. Yes, ball manipulation and comfort on the ball for sure. But there is no, I don't want to say there's no ruling body, but there's no enforcement, right? So in England, you have something called the FA, and again, I'm kind of both sides of my mouth here. In a local club like Los Gatos, where parents in England would coach, it's loosely FA related, right? Football Association related. When you're in the pro levels, the plans they have, they specifically, because again, just for people to understand Europe versus America, you're 8 to 12 in England, or I just use England as my example. You get looked at by local professional clubs, right? And the professional clubs, as you know, English Premier League, Championship, Division 1, Division 2. So 4 tiers that are professional, right? Generally, the top 2, Championship and English Premiership. I mean, they have them all the way down. Grimsby Town, I have a friend who coaches there. They have teams all the way down to 8 years old. And what happens is a scout goes out, he watches the local teams, right? So where I am, Barra, Quorn, Loughborough, Shepshed, just your local, like little league here, right? And is there 1 or 2 kids out of that, splattering of 500 get invited to used to be called COE, Center of Excellence, and then they would be coached twice. I think it was twice a month, if I remember right, from those teams. But you're not on contract, right? You just sign with these pro clubs and you come out twice a month. And it's like PDP here or ODP. And you're just coached by these guys and it keeps going. Then when you're 12, you actually go to 11v11, right? You go to, hey, I'm going to be signed on as a pro, right? So that's why in those academies, it's set a criteria of what they're taught from the FA, the Football Association, down. So those 8-year-olds are getting the right instruction. So if they do go on, they've got those fundamentals already pre-built. So that is something you look for is your club producing a curriculum, a methodology, and then are those two things tied to an evaluation process for your kid, right? So week 1 of the season, let's say, whatever, September, the first week of September, first 3 sessions are going to be, I don't know, ball manipulation, working on scissors, attacking players 1v1, something like that, right? So that's what you should be asking in those direct conversations, coaches conversations, when you're having the parent meetings. Can you send me the curriculum? Can you send me the periodization chart? And then on top of that, this is maybe not an ECNL club. what do we do when we get to 11v11, and the highest level we can get to is NPL, right? Knockout Premier League. And honestly, elite clubs, and I'm take the elite word out of context here from ECNL and GA. An elite program to me is a coach and a team of directors that say, if you're that good at 11v11, we will openly move you to an ECNL club, or we will make the introductions into a elite program, ECNL or GA, for you to progress.
Well, that was the other part that was a little, confusing because some of it is at the team level. You have a very talented team will allow you to be in ECNL or in a competitive tournament. And then there's the club level of, all right, you're going to get 6 teams. All of your top teams at these age groups are going to, come up into this level. And then there's more of a merit based, if it is truly, top of the top, and you're talking, the top 5% of players, maybe top 1% of players in a given region, why doesn't everybody just go there? Like it's, I don't want to say it's a pro level, like minor league tiering system, but if you're on that track, why not give that opportunity to those leagues? Because right now it seems like every
Well, that's
organization
that's
wants to
where the
be
pot.
the ECNL.
Yeah,
And then if your boy or girl is good enough, like, well, I don't want that player to go to another club and play ECNL. I want them here with me because then that makes us better and I can recruit more people, but might not be the best opportunity or best, thing for the kid.
yeah. I mean, multiple things, right? Number one, you as a coach, your job in youth soccer should be to develop those players to move on from you to the next level. At the end of the day, I'm not an MLS coach, right? And if they're good enough to be a pro, they're never going to be with me forever. So, first of all, the coach should always come out. And that's why clubs implement the 2 or 3 year rotation of coaches, right? You shouldn't always get super close to your coach because people do things different ways. Then I go back to, if you're good enough, it doesn't really matter what badge you're wearing, you will be spotted. So even if there's that uncomfortable section of you're 11v11, you're the top player, maybe you're starting to break into national pools and stuff like that, the national program doesn't care what club logo you wear, right? They need you for a position to represent the country. Simple as that.
Are you gonna
So,
get pushback from that comment? Because
oh,
that
for
that
sure.
seems like the complete opposite of everything that we're told.
Well, but also remember, I'm talking about 0.1%, right?
I
I'm talking
I
about
agree with
the
you, and that's
tips,
it.
right?
Trying to break that up, but you have on both sides of what we've heard and talked about. If you're good enough, they will find you, and just have fun. So if you are 8 years old, none of this should be an
Zero
advertising
should matter.
tactic or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like at 10 years old, at 11. So now you're getting playing 11v11 for the first year at 12 or 13 years old as we move this to the grade based, and you hit puberty and you start performing well. If you're going to be found anyway, why not continue to play with your friends in the community and just keep going up with the goal? Because the and we're going to talk about this on the baseball side. The commentary is, if I don't play against the best, I can't get better.
Hmm.
And
So,
there's some truth to that, but at the same time, we say the majority of the gains that you're made at a younger age is in the backyard. Are you getting your touches in? You're kicking against a wall? Are you
yeah.
juggling? And do you have the drive? So it'd be an interesting experiment to say, if, and we said this a couple episodes ago, if Messi were to play on his local club and never went to a showcase or anything like that, would he have made it into the national stage?
So
I have to imagine to some extent, yes.
yeah, so there's a couple of things there, right? I think number one is you've got there's some bad management is what I would call it, where uh league programs have let teams jump age groups. And so if you're kicking everyone's ass, right, you're the best 2016 team in the area, you move to the next age group up. That's just been the kind of back of the napkin thing you do.
As a
The pro
unit, though. So that's the other part. So that's a unit. So if that team is led by 5 top girls or boys, and the other 7 are appropriately average for their age group, you're pulling everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of, for my, it's a sticky point because I believe you should play, irrelevant of age, you should play against the level that you compete at, right? And I think the problem with a little bit with that is people just lie. Let's just be honest, right? That if I'm young enough but I can play 2 years up, I go because I play at my age, right? And that's fine. I got no problem with playing at your level, your standard. Um, but it doesn't happen all the way. It doesn't filter all the way down, right? There's rules change for different social groups and everything else. So that's a bit of an issue, right? Even though I believe in it, that if you're 2016 but you're good enough to play 2014, whatever, go do it, right? There is some elements I'll heavily push back on because I believe that you are probably playing up because of a physical element. You're not playing up because you're technically the sharpest kid. And that goes to the Messi thing, right? He was small, but technically so elite, but they had to protect him, right? He only came on the scenes when needed. So there's that part of it. Then the second part of this is, and we could talk about this for hours, is just take Messi again. He was so good, right? Or don't even take Messi, just take a player. They're so technically good and advanced that they play on this team with their friends, they love it, they enjoy it, etc. But when they have a moment in, because their likelihood is they're going to get picked for PDP or ODP or a national pool or whatever that is, their world changes, right? So yes, their friend group is in this team, but when they're exposed to that next level in that group and they can hang, then they want to join that friend group and play that. And that's the natural filter, right? Is they may be spotted at 9 and 10, they go to that next level. So then at 10 and 11, they join that other group because that's their people at that level. And that just keeps multiplying. They've not lost this group of friends, just they're so advanced in that, it just pulls away a little bit.
If and when that light bulb goes off, it is going to be for a small percentage of players. So the first part of our conversation is the pressure that parents are putting on their kids or themselves to evaluate, right, keeping up with the Joneses. And if my kid isn't being evaluated at ECNL, they're not any good, right? That's the part we just need to separate out. I'm not against being the best and then going and playing up and being competitive and doing that. It's just not everybody is going to get that shot. So do we have the controls in place that we can have a conversation that is in the best interest of the kid at the age that they are now without removing the love of the game because you're applying so much pressure to be on team one or to be at the ECNL club or to be on the career, right? Why aren't we going to the showcase, coach, in Arizona? Why aren't we playing in the tournament down in San Diego? And you're like, they're 8. They don't need to be on a Southwest flight at 6 a.m. to go down and travel 2 hours.
Well, again, right, there's two scenarios there. Is, are you going for an experience with your friends and your group? And if the answer is yes, and the winning and losing, the game is irrelevant, then I think that's beneficial for life, right? So that's a part of it. But, kind of what you said is true to form, the love of the game, right? If, again, a kid is so bought into playing so much and they love the game, then keep feeding it. But you're talking about 0.1%. That middle ground, dude, just do right by the kids. Enjoy the game, play the game, have fun with your friends. You will lose teammates. You're not losing friends, you're losing teammates that are progressing past the level you are in. And tell them, good luck. I can't wait to see you play. I'm going to watch you in whatever, right? But that's what it should be constructed at. And we do that well at 5, 6 when they're under the hood of the club's cover. The minute the exposure comes of leagues, alphabet soup, tournaments, all those things, oh, shit hits the fan and it goes chaotic for no reason. The other thing I was going to mention that I forgot to, from the coaching standpoint, and when you're going through tryouts, always ask about player retention, right? That's a stickler for me and a key indicator. that whoever's, and every club runs different, right? Directors versus age group coordinators, just whatever that is. Whoever's leading that age group that your kid is in, retention is key for me because personally, club hoppers is an issue for me because I there's a connectivity needed in the game that if you have club hoppers that a kid joins, they leave after 2 months, a kid joins, they leave after, that to me is a red flag. It's like interviewing, right? If you've jumped job to job after every 6 months, an interviewer or somebody looking to fill that role is going to red flag that immediately. It's the same process, right? There's something, what is it? And then start digging into that. So retention is also key to success as well. Honestly, if you can keep a core together and keep developing those players, in theory, you're going to have an absolute solid age group. And then it
But
breaks
that's
again.
sure. And I'm 100% the retention. From the baseball program, our number one goal for all of our coaches is your player comes back and plays the next season, whether that's fall ball or the next full season. That is keeping them in the game because we shouldn't have somebody quitting before the age of 16. Get into that freshman program, and some high schools that's a cut, some it's not. And you're getting out there and you might hit puberty at that right time and you've grinded, you've had the love of the game, and you start to excel where you just didn't have it when you were, smaller or just, getting started in the game. But as the leagues get more competitive, you see a lot of the organizations try to have it both ways. They try to say we are a community involved club. We're going to keep all of the town, the city, everybody connected, but they start pushing everybody out if you're not good enough, if you're not at that elite level. And it's just that rub that we're trying to figure out of, we want to be able to play locally. We want to keep the kids in the game as much as possible.
There's a couple of things you said then is community, right? And I think that, by the way, I think there's a place for everyone, be that rec, be that team 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it goes back to your first question about what you should look at tryouts. Again, if my kid's on team 3, it's a local club and it's a local, field, etc. What is the club doing to make sure my kid gets good instruction on team 3? That's something I've always struggled with, as you know, that I think the top level coaches, if you're going to be a youth coach in a local club, top level coaches should be at the foundation level, full stop.
Mm-hmm.
The 11v11s, in theory, should have already moved on if you're a top level player to an ECNL program, MLS Next, whatever. So that layer below 11v11, their fundamentals are made, right? So if you're a starter out coach and you're doing your D license, your C license, the likelihood is you love the game, you've been a player, all those things, you can coach 11v11 because that's probably the last place it will be the last place you came from. You can coach that, right? Again, depend on the level. So that's where the key to it for me is my kid's on team 3. How good's that coach? And how, if they do accelerate and they do grow and puberty hits at the right time, all that stuff, how do they get to that potential team 1? And again, show me the retention of the players and show me the growth. How many players move from team 3 to 1? And how does that work? Or again, you can't stop this. Did kids come from outside of the area to get onto team 1 because our club has an ECNL program? And it goes back to my opening phase. Joining a club at 8 to think you're going to get onto that top level elite program, you are very, very unlikely to get there unless you were already a 0.1% player and then you'll make it, right? So there's all of those surrounding factors that it's just hard to navigate. And again, I go back to, do you like your coach? Do you enjoy the game? Do you like your teammates? And are we doing the things correctly?
And we spent a good amount of this talking on the soccer. I hear the parallels from the baseball perspective, and this is getting into now all-star selection season. So when you think about on the soccer side, the path to ECNL and the parents putting pressure on themselves or on their kids to get into that elite tier, you also have that happening with 9-year-olds in Little League Baseball, where you have this, end of season designation of the best players in the league. And as I'm, first year not being president and sitting in the middle of all of this and getting the feedback directly to me, getting cursed out more times than I care to talk about, and seeing the kind of the glaze go over the eyes of the parents saying, well, my kid needs to be on this team. They must be at this level. Um, I just want to put that message out there to remind everybody there are many major leaguers that did not make their all-star team at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. It's going to be okay. Be careful with setting expectations that a successful season is if you make all-stars. You might bust your ass as hard as you can and make giant improvements and not have your name in a bulleted list that goes out, and that's okay. That has no bearing on you as a parent or you as a kid. So use it as an appropriate, it is a reward. It's great. You can be honored there, but it's not the end all be all of your season. Just like not making team one or the ECNL program. Don't put
I
that pressure on yourself or your kid.
I go back to it all the time. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team, right? And that sport's different. There is a physical element, right? You generally got to be 6'3", those kind of things. But at the end of the day, like, that's just the proof in the pudding, right? He got cut from a high school. That's the years that kids quit because they get cut.
Yeah. And it's a matter of timing. It's a matter of luck. And sometimes, yeah, it's not fair because the parts that we start to see is, and you see it in soccer, the top 1% is very clearly defined. You see somebody, juggling, passing, putting it to the back of the net every single time. And then there's a grouping, there's an aggregation into that middle, into the average player, and trying to spot the differences is really tough as an evaluator. I mean, you've tried to make team ones and team twos and starting decisions, and sometimes it's really close. It's a coin flip that could go
But
either way.
you remember my team one, team two, with my girls' 16s, everyone was on each other's squad. I'm like, guys, I've seen you for 1 hour over, or maybe 2 hours at tryouts. I I I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know where you guys go play on the field right now. So there isn't a team one and team two. It's 20 people at the field at the same time until I start figuring this out, until it shakes out. Simple as that. Like, relax. And 1 week, one kid could be exceptional. The next week, they can't tie their own shoe. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and I always get on my kind of soapbox on this one. Before we go, I know we've talked a lot about this. Parents, do not approach the coach in the field when they're coaching or doing tryouts, whatever. Get off my field, go sit down. You want to talk to me, find an appropriate time to engage, right? I say this all the time. You would never walk into your kid's English class and demand to speak to a teacher.
I don't know. I think we've gotten to the point that some people are doing that.
That's not
But
good.
I agree with you. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's the level of importance. So I mean, that's the level set that we're trying to get the message out on, and have a common understanding of we are there for the kid. Step one, get them outside in fresh air, away from screens, with a community to support them. And make sure that on that team, you said this earlier, you are rooting for everybody on that team. And hell, root for the kid that you're playing against, because it's a different color jersey, and that's it. We're all members of the same society here that we're trying to build up and support. So, they at the tournaments the last couple weeks, there is some aggressive behavior to referees, aggressive behavior to other players. Take a step back. We are all just trying to get people outside, enjoying the love of the game, create that atmosphere, and every kid develops at a different pace. You might be the best, most all-stariest of the all-stars right now at 12 years old and not make your high school baseball team. You might not want to play baseball at that point. And then on the flip side, we've had local kids here in the Bay Area that were not all-stars, did not start on their high school team, that had a great college career. Some that went on to play professionally. So enjoy the moment that we're in. And I think, and just go back to that conversation with Rob or Lisa or Andrew that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Enjoy watching your kid play, because that might be their last game. you're gonna go. There's gonna be a Sunday or Saturday in the next couple of years that we won't be able to go to a soccer game anymore. And think back to the arguments we're having over ECNL and all-star teams and tournaments and all that of hey, toes in the grass, enjoy the sunshine, and have a good time. Just the last piece on this that I want to touch. That's the all-star piece that's going on right now. Those teams will come out in the next couple of weeks. The other is the competitive travel ball. I have never seen it like this in the last 10 years I've been here, or 5 years as president of Little League, that this travel baseball is taken priority over the community Little League seasons. Typically, when you're in Little League, you're playing with your buddies from school and you're just having a good time and play travel ball in the fall, in the winter. We're now seeing kids skip Little League games altogether, skip practices altogether to prioritize the travel ball. And just like we've said with every other sport, you are not being recruited to the major leagues at 11 or 12 years old at any of these travel ball tournaments. Spend the time to have fun, low pressure, go play Little League baseball, go play
That's what
soccer,
people.
go play tiddlywinks. Take
Yeah,
the competition out of it.
I think that's. I mean, the key part there that you just said is, dude, you only talking out both sides of my mouth a little bit here, but the low pressure environments lets you explore your skill sets and develop the skill sets. Now, I know a diamond's made out of pressure, but it's only made when the coal's already formed, right? It's not making it from dirt, right? So there's you gotta the coal's got to be built before the pressure can be applied to develop the diamond, right? That coal is built in the backyard, low pressure, trying, experience, failing, try again, failing, try again until you get it. Then we can apply the pressure, right? It can't be applied too early. It won't work.
I think that
Fractures.
is a perfect statement of how to review this, because we've gone through the percentages before, right? 20% of our soccer club or baseball club will play at the high school level in any capacity. You know what the problem is? We don't know what 20% that's going to be. So if you take the love of the game away and the opportunity away early, that portion of that percentage, they have no shot because they're not going to play the game anymore. So treat 100% of that pool as potential high school players, college players, professional players, potential players. We want more kids in the game for a longer period of time, and that cannot happen if we put the pressure on them at too young of an age or when they're not ready for it. So many of these kids are like, I'm a baseball player. My dad wants me to play baseball. Like, what? No, you should want to play baseball, basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, whatever that is, because you have a passion for it.
Yeah, you want it. Yep. Yep. All right, we spent an hour on that.
And we could probably go for another couple hours. I think it was just important sets of topics to go through and level set. If you're listening to this, just a reminder, take a deep breath and figure out why you're upset and what you're optimizing for. And then to Craig's point, check in with your kid, because likely the thing that you're upset about, they have no idea about. And they're just having a good time. They want to go play with Sally and go get some ice cream afterwards. And that's really all we need.
Yeah. Hit us up for advice. We're here.
We're here anytime. Or you can also vent. We have plenty. You can open up another text thread with us. We're happy to talk you through anything that you're going through right now. As always, you can follow us on Instagram, the Struggle Bubble Pod. We will have another episode next week. Appreciate it.
Adios.